over a year ago, I was involved in trying to get out into my community. I was new to the neighborhood and wanted to get involved with the new community association that had popped up in my neighborhood. I thought it was great. Things need to be done. So the more that I had asked questions to the people that set up our community association, the more I was finding a lot of hesitation and retaliation and just people beating around the bush with answers. And once I started asking real questions, they ultimately demonized me and made me to be a troublemaker. Kicked me out of my community association.
So what was the thing that you started asking questions about?
I started asking questions about the legitimacy of the association. You know, a lot of associations collect dues, collect money to keep their organization running, to do things in the community, which is great. But anybody that has either a 501c3 or a community association, or even a business for that matter, you have to have what's called an Articles of Incorporation through the Department of Assessment and Taxation. And from there, you're able to apply with the federal government for your federal employee identification number. My association had none of that. All of it's public knowledge. You can go online and find all of that. And I asked questions. Well, you know, you can't open a bank account and collect money if you don't have an FEIN. When you go and open a bank account, they ask for your FEIN. But they assured me everything was on the up and up, that I had nothing to worry about. But still to this day, I can't find the paperwork. So it begs the question of, you know, if they're collecting dues and money, where is it going? And I've asked these questions, and there's several other community associations within the 7th District that I know are doing the same thing. And that's why when I got involved with Tim and, you know, talking to him about his platform and, you know, his questions kind of aligned with my questions, and I liked his platform, and here I am today.
Well, there's also a proposed grant for the revitalization of the of your community,
Yes.
And that seems to be a very hot topic. And there's certain individuals in the community that don't want anybody to be asking the question. So,
Yes.
who is leading that charge? And this proposal is brought out by Todd just shortly before the election, which is pretty amazing.
Yes.
The timing.
What I know about the grant, and don't quote me per se, but from what I understand, there is a revitalization grant for the Essex area, and it's earmarked for community stuff, you know, for business fronts and for sidewalks and for this and that and this and that. And our area is now allowed to apply for this grant. So if you ask about the grant and where the money is allocated for and what their ideas are, and they don't know about the grant, they have no idea. If you ask about the proposed stakeholders, which there's a whole list of stakeholders, one in which I questioned myself was Trade Point Atlantic. Why is Trade Point Atlantic even interested, or, you know, even named on this proposed grant application, especially when they're asking for, you know, this TIF. You know, I think that the great things can be done for this community. It's been neglected for so long. You just need the right people to back it, and the right people to allocate and listen to the people and find out exactly what needs to be done, because we don't necessarily need fancy new storefronts. We just need them cleaned up. You know, we need some buildings taken care of, you know, but most importantly, we have, and I know that in the Essex community alone, several of the schools, we have children that walk to school and they don't have sidewalks to walk to school. So half of these children are walking in the street, and we have buses and cars and just flying past these kids. So why can't we use some of that for our children, to keep our children safe? I mean, I think that that would be our main priority, is fixing our schools and things like that.
Now, what kind of job do you think Todd has done while he's in office?
I don't think much of it. From what I've seen, you know, he's put Band-Aids on a few situations, but other than that, all I've heard from the people I've talked to is crickets. He doesn't answer phone calls, he doesn't answer emails, and they're furious. People are furious with the work that he's done.
Now there's certain individuals that he has aligned himself with. In my community, it is the Dundalk Renaissance Corporation, who, in my eyes, is not getting the job done. As a matter of fact, I think that they're the biggest problem in our community. Now, he has aligned himself with people in the Essex area too, and you're kind of familiar with those people from being involved in the different community organizations.
Yes, so I have found, and paperwork can trace it back, that Mr. Crandell has aligned himself with the core group, along with the Eastern Baltimore County Task Force, which he made Mr. O'Connell head of for the task force. And the core group is responsible for creating some of these associations, community associations in the area that I've earlier mentioned.
So, and they're strong arming people in there. If you're not in line with them, then you're not really welcome. Just like when Tim was at this meeting, was it probably 2 weeks ago now, and he introduced himself, and they didn't want to hear from him because they knew he would be speaking his mind, and on behalf of the people, wouldn't be in line with them, so they threw him out.
Well, I think that, because I was with Tim the evening of the meeting, and there was a concerned citizen here in the area that had stood up, and she had mentioned the sidewalks near the school. So I said to Tim, I said, well, why don't you ask this question? So he stood up, said his name, and before he even had the microphone in his hand, the resource officer was coming across the room, and they were yanking the microphone out of his hand before he even finished introducing himself for all intents and purposes of getting out who he is. But there's so many issues with this group of people, and I believe that they are controlling the narrative of their community association page, of all of their platforms on social media, and anybody that questions, it seems, their platform or what they're doing, there's something that they don't want exposed.
Now let me just ask this question. I want to go back before we get too far into anything else, and that would be with the police. Actually, the police came down to the Dundalk area and tried to silence the people of Dundalk about what they were doing there. So do you feel that the Cliff and the core group are using the police to help them out?
I can't per se 100% because I really haven't seen them interact with the police. Other people have, and from what I hear, there is favoritism there, and that there is some type of understanding there, but what exactly it is, I don't know. But to say 100% that there is some type of cooperation there, I can't necessarily say that. The police in this area, they do, for the most part, they do a good job. Are there areas for improvement? Yes, but there's only so many of them, and we have a lot of problems here, and they can't take care of them all. That's where we need strong leadership in this area to bring everybody together and everybody pitch in, help out. Takes the community.
Okay, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Vote Tim Faze, District Council, County 7. He's a great guy.